Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com. I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with David Fein, who has been at the forefront of making the movies we watch at home better for decades. David, it's such a pleasure to finally get a
How
chance to speak
kind.
with you.
Hi, Jason. It's so wonderful to see you. I love the collection behind you. Movies are my passion. I love being thrown into them and just disappear. It's
I mean,
wonderful.
our site is called That Shelf because it's that shelf where you put the stuff that you absolutely adore. And so many things on our shelves are thanks to the work that you do. If you could talk very briefly before we get into the work that you did with Star Trek about your pioneering work of taking on after the work of people like Criterion did and making supplemental materials that elevated our appreciation and our admiration for these films.
I'll make it as quick as I can. But thank you. I'm honored to hear that. I have an insatiable curiosity, always have all my life, and I want to know everything about everything. And when there's a topic that I love, I want to know every bit of it. And when Criterion started out with their special features in their projects, they would give us little tastes of information. And all I kept thinking is, I want to know from the earliest inception of an idea all the way out to merchandising, if it was available at the time. And I had the idea of just telling from A to Z everything, not just, oh, here's a trailer, or we had this promotional feature where no one will talk about what the monster is, or, or it's just something that you can tell is a fluff piece. It's, oh, look, here, we have to put this on TV. No, I really want to know what people are thinking, and more importantly, what they're feeling. Because what I've learned in doing this is there's no better experience in life than to be able to take someone on a journey and have them disappear and just love what they're watching. Even if it's a documentary, you gotta see with the fire in someone's eyes about what made them passionate about their work. And that's what I want to see for the audiences too, is just when someone watches Star Trek, for the example, I want to know that they're just deep into it, feeling it, experience it, it's around you. And when we did the special features, I needed to find the special items that were amazing and that coolness factor where you just can't help but say, oh, that's cool. It's just something special. I'll give you the tease on the box set. It was when I found years ago the cave stock shot of him in a caveman outfit. That's the cool, because no one knew about it. Just something little something in documentary materials that just was great. So I just did this, had to be everything all encompassing on a project. And I was just so thrilled that when I was satisfied and it came out, everyone else just loved it and fell into it and just said, I want this too. And they became successful. And then studios realized now we can take catalog titles and make them more successful because of those extra features. And it helped spark what the special edition market is today, I'd think, because Criterion was just throwing the little bit. This was everything. And I want to see more of that encompassing.
I mean, one of the sort of ironies here is that we're sort of in a magical age that we're getting home media at the best it's ever been and probably ever will be in terms of high bit rate UHD home releases at the moment, far superior to streaming. On the other hand, the market is definitely going in a direction where so much of what you've brought in terms of that celebration is sometimes being overlooked. I want to take a moment here to celebrate Paramount doing this release and actually giving us everything that we want in this physical release. But also, if you could speak to what you know on the back end, is there talk about just as much we worry about restoring films, but ensuring that the supplemental, the so-called extras, are being kept and preserved for future generations as well?
Well, Paramount's doing a marvelous job of taking all the material that they had before and including them in the packages, and that's one of the things that's really
on disc.
On disc, yeah, and that's the reason why many of the Blu-rays end up coming in a set. It's about making sure that anything that was on the Blu-ray disc also continues to exist in the 4K set. And keeping all of those materials alive is fantastic because it is a piece of the history. The thing is, with every film is always we always find that there's a pack rat, somebody who's been saving everything. You got to just find out who that person is. But at the same time, so much material has gone away from the studio. Finding it and bringing it back, it's wonderful to see studios like Paramount who are now really focused on keeping as much of that material within the company or saving it so that it can be presented again. The thing that's even better when you're just touching on the fact that you're saying home entertainment is better than ever before, there's something that I'm surprised isn't marketed even more, and that's HDR is so radically amazing. You can now have home entertainment releases that are better than it could possibly have been theatrically. To say to you that any movie that's ever been made that has a negative today can and is better looking and sounding than it ever was before, because there was more information on that negative and we have ways of presenting it better. We're in a beautiful new era of entertainment that even in theatrical, it couldn't measure up to the physical media release. Our 4K disc is better than the theatrical in color range. And just there's so many exciting things. And 10 years from now, it's going to be even brighter than it is now. It's rated to off the scale. It's wonderful. So
And again,
I don't know if that answered everything, but
I'm not looking to be negative here, but what I'm saying is, you who's on the inside, are you seeing the same passion of including this stuff on discs to also being included on things like Paramount Plus streaming services? Are you seeing your work being preserved in the same way that you're reserving the theatrical experience in the streaming world, or is that something that we still need to be fighting for?
I think it's easy to put material on special features on those services. I don't know how much they're doing that. And it's also, remember, it's the dawn of the services. A lot of people don't think special features, they think the movie itself. I think we should always ask for it. I think we definitely should keep pushing for getting all these materials out there to be to be on those services, because it's easy, except for when you get still sections and then, you know, the difficulties of streaming when they don't fit as well. But absolutely, I'd love to see all the materials on there, but understand it's not necessarily the fault of them if something's not there. Sometimes we just have to tell them that it exists. Right. But for Paramount, we were saying home entertainment, they're doing an amazing job of looking for what old material, or previous material or legacy material can be included on disc. But now we have to continue to work with those services, especially if someday they surpass disc. Disc still has the better picture quality and archival material, but it's
exactly the disc is at the moment far superior, and your work on this disc is extraordinary. If we could talk specifically then about another sort of juicy detail. If there was one version of Star Trek, the motion picture, that you would introduce somebody to the film, which one would it be? What would a first-time viewer, what should they see?
Well, the 4K theatrical, the 4K director's edition is the only version of the movie. The movie's finished. It never was finished before. Every other version, and sorry to say, even the DVD version, we didn't have the ability to go back and do the color grading where we needed to on the negative level. So now, plus all of the different changes and the encompassing sound, it is the film as it works better and the best way it's ever been before. So hands down, this is the finished movie. The others are historical importance. That's why they're on the box. There is no comparison.
And so for you, when it comes to this sort of form of restoration, you work obviously with Robert Wise, you had all these elements sort of brought together. There is a tendency to assume directorial intent and all these sort of crazy buzzwords. But sometimes when the project underwent the challenges that this one did, becomes a definitive version. And that certainly sounds like what you're standing by, that if one is going to watch one version, this new firmly established quote-unquote director's cut that's available on the 4K set is the version of the motion picture that one should start with, and everything else plays in reference to that. That's a fair statement?
Everything else is supplemental, because this is not like any other cut. This is not a director's cut. Bob didn't want it called that. It's the director's edition, because unlike any other movie, this is a movie that's been unfinished for 43 years. It reached a point where it has finally reached the place where Bob and we were intending originally to get to this point of it being a completed film. Though those others are work prints and supplemental, but they have an historical significance. Like the special longer version, it was the only version you could see for many years on home entertainment. That's an important emotional investment people make. And that's important to respect, that they saw the film and have that memory. And that's like going home. It doesn't invalidate their importance, but it's not the finished movie. Whereas this is the first time the movie can be said to be finished to where we truly expected it to be, plus more. It's not even about the vision. It's about telling the best story and making the story work. And that's what Bob was. The most important aspect for Bob and what he was instilling in me is story, 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 make it work. That's where we are, and that's where we reached.
We have 1 minute left. You work with the genius that was Robert Wise. If you could tell us something that might surprise us about him. I mean, it was surprising he did a Star Trek film in the first place after working on Citizen Kane and West Side Story. If there's something about working with him that surprised you and sort of energized your own response to his work.
What amazed me was he was always looking at, you know, whereas there are practicalities in everything that we do and limitations, he saw past them. When I had conversations with him about when they discovered that film had more information in the film, I was saying that there was a company that was squeezing that into the visual acuity. John Lowry with the Star Wars films. I've showed them things like that doing all those years ago. Bob said to me, the future. He said, what if it went the other way? What if technology progressed so you could see that range? And that's where we are today with HDR. And I was always impressed because his mind was not thinking, there was no box. We would have conversations about the possibilities. And it was the greatest experiences of my life was to sit down and talk to him. And that drove every decision I've made today in bringing it to that next level, because that's what he was. It's living without limitations. It's like Bob said, heaven is making a film with no budgetary requirements, just being able to do everything. But now think about it without technological restrictions. Like I even say this about old Walt Disney cartoons. They flicker and they shake and whatever. If Walt could have made them without flickering and shaking, he would have. And that's the idea, is how can we just tell the best story? But he was ahead of his time just to say, let's focus on what we're telling, not what we have to get there, but use everything you can. And I thought that was so brilliant.
Thank you for everything that you've done to not only firmly and respectfully keep in place the history and the future of this film, but for all the film projects you worked on. So many of the things that you've touched upon have changed the way that I appreciate cinema on a fundamental level. And so many people relegate what you do to a supplement or to an extra. And for me, it's fundamental to my appreciation of film. So thank you so much for the work that you do, and everybody on the team at Paramount for making this extraordinary release.
Thank you, Jason. That was wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you for being such a passionate lover of film.
All the best. Take care.
We do it for you.
and every other nerd out there.
I am one of them. So thanks.
One of us. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye.